Welcome, Dag. We here yet again. The Real Nigga Podcast. Your host is the Real Nigga Dungeon Master. 90% in this bitch, Dag. And yep. Still shit out of luck, Dag. You know what I mean? This was just kind of done at random. I hope this episode ain't boring like one of my episodes was. Not gonna say which one it was, but I felt like that motherfucker was boring as hell. Hey, I'm a real nigga. Gotta keep it real with myself and with my content. When we do these recordings, Dag, we record them and then we put them up for later. We don't, play the shit back or nothing like that, until like we finally, go through all the files and shit, and then we like, damn, shit, how this Real Nigga Podcast, that motherfucker boring. I don't know which one it is, but that shit was boring as hell. And if anybody else feel the same way, I apologize, and if anybody feel the way about this one, I apologize again. You know what I'm saying? It seems like, when we going through the most fucked up shit, my delivery is very monotone. You know what I'm saying? It's all like, yeah, Real Nigga Podcast. I want my laptop to work. But it's unfortunate, man, cause Dag, during this hiatus of sorts, away from doing the work we love to do, we on Facebook, Dag. And I know niggas like, yeah, you on Facebook? What's wrong with that, nigga? We are not social media type of, you know what I'm saying? Like Facebook boring, Dag. You know what I'm saying? I gotta say, for the most part, we sit down, we try to find little inklets of things that are entertaining about it. But that is one boring motherfucker. You know what I mean? Aside from keeping updated with family members and it's still them motherfuckers complaining about their cat humping every fucking day that you don't feel like reading. You know what I'm saying? Like, damn, Dag, I could have did without that story, but when you ain't got a motherfucking thing to do, shit, that's just what you go to. Facebook is just the alternative when a creative nigga ain't doing shit. You know what I'm saying? And it sucks, man. It fucking really sucks. But on to the podcast. Today's special guest, evenings, I should say, is a guest that did a whole lot in his career. You know what I'm saying? He was highly controversial at one point, and he was beloved by all before that. And he's gonna tell parts of his story. He was on Jazz Mars podcast. Please peep that on out. Go to XTV West Side. That's all together. XTV West Side on YouTube. And check out his podcast with Jazz Mar that, got a lot of positive feedback from XTV East Coast and, West Coast as well. James Jacob Bine. What's up, Dad?
What's going on, buddy?
So, yeah, man, I mean, welcome, Dag. How's life?
Life is great. My sentiments are the same. Not with your boring podcast. I feel like you don't really put out boring content. You don't do that.
Oh, really?
No, you don't do that. I feel like, this is a very rough patch. We're not those type of guys that just read other people's life updates. We live our life. You know what I mean? It's not to be egotistical because, being broke for so long makes you not have an ego, but it's just we are the people that are going to create things for the future, so we don't get stuck in the current, on the current, and doing what everybody else is doing. We're not social media guys, we're not all this, we're not, and we're kind of forced to be because that's our only way of entertainment. If we didn't have that, we'll just be lying here doing nothing, but we also got this recorder, which is good, and hopefully it goes up, if not tomorrow, maybe the next day, and maybe, hopefully it goes up from this.
I think it will, dog. It's just gonna take time. Now, James, you spoke on a lot. I hope I don't repeat anything that was on Jazz Moss podcast. Watched it a bunch of times, so I shouldn't. But James, how do you feel about how it came out?
I thought I told a great story. There is something I do want to speak on though.
Go ahead, Dak.
Uh, I told a great story. You know, and I think like I'm glad you recommended people to check out my podcast with Jazz, because it's a story that I think a lot of people don't know. Anytime you were once a big face and you were rich and you were going through all this, people have their own assumptions, of what was going on, but I lived my life and I was there, and I'm able to live through what I went through and tell it. It's a great rag to riches to rags again story that I was able to tell, and get people to understand that the riches isn't where it's at. Like one of my favorite things I did say on there is mainly the part where I said what did I say? I'm like when I was going through it, being rich and being a household name, my life, my marriage, it wasn't right. And when my marriage and stuff was right, things were faltering. People think that when things are bad, they're bad, and your show's doing bad in the ratings, but no, it was the opposite effect. When my show was doing good, I was going through hell in my life. And I mean, I really went through it. I tell you, me and my wife and my kids, and little 007, he has a lot of resentment, towards me, because of the way he feels I treated his friends, him, and he headed down this path of destruction. He drank like crazy. Yeah, Dag. I mean, that's another thing I don't think Jazz touched on. Your opinion on your son. Some people say his disastrous life. I mean, he became an alcoholic. He was accused of raping someone. And what's your thoughts on that, man? Well, I mean, part of me blames myself, for lack of being there in my son's life, lack of involvement and being a real father figure. I take blame for that. I could make excuses. Oh, I was on TV and I had to meet this deadline, but that's no excuse for raising your son. You know what I mean? Or your kid, like you can't make excuses, because when they grow up, you see, what could have been turned to something else. As far as the rape case, I'm glad he was found not guilty. You know what I mean? But around that time, excuse me, I was trying to get back in his life, and I was trying to tell him, be careful about these guys you hang around with. You gotta be careful. You know what I mean? These guys may smile one day and then, may mean mug the next day. I mean, you never know. As I said, I was, when I was famous, I had so many smiling faces. You know what I mean? People that said they had my back no matter what. They would do for me anything it took to keep me happy. I had so much of that, so much, where I let it consume me and I believed it. But when things fell down and, stuff wasn't good anymore, the true colors of all those people that once said, I have your back, I'm here for you, it started to show. You know what I mean? Those people didn't have my back. Those people weren't there for me. And, I was trying to tell my son, that story, but he wasn't listening anymore. I neglected him, due to fame. So, I don't care what no one says. Anybody that gets famous, it's a gift and a curse. You know what I mean? You may wind up not being able to see your family for as long as you want. You know what I mean? Or you may see your wife or whoever for as much as you see her for. And, you have these other different people in your life, girls that you're seeing all the time. And, too many shots of vodka leads into, you're in her between her legs in her bedroom, and all these different things. So that's just my opinion on that. I apologize if I went too long.
Oh, not a problem, Dad. You know what I'm saying? Not a problem. Because this probably gonna be a long ass one. You know, it may be long. You know, you already know how every time we say some shit gonna happen, it don't ever happen. But what I want to ask you about is a particular character. I already know. We talked about it over the phone. You know that you portrayed, James. It was highly controversial, and one of the most strangest periods in XTV history. When you were the character Jamesy, a transsexual character at that. You know, this was 2005. What was going on? What was the concept behind this character? And you know, just go on ahead.
You know, this was that period, you know, where I was completely, well, I fell off, and I was no longer the popular guy. And you know, one thing about it is, I even said this on Jazz Mar's podcast. It's like, when I got famous, I didn't know what I was famous for. I didn't know why I was popular. I really didn't. I was like, you know, okay, I'm just a double O agent. Like, I didn't get it. You know, other people like me, I'm getting rich. That's cool. You know, I got fans. That was what I enjoyed about it. But I didn't know that I was really affecting people the way I affected people. I truly didn't. And when I was famous, I was famous. But when I wasn't anymore, I wasn't. And so I didn't know how to get that fame back. I didn't know what to do. So I just tried something different. Yeah, way different. Way different. And I just was like, "Were you guys liking me as a transsexual?" You know, it was just a thought, you know, and I did it, you know, because I was like, I got to do anything, because you know, when you're losing relevance and losing money, you know what I mean, and people are starting to forget what you did, it's a motherfucker, you know, and you're like, come on, please remember me. Shit, I'm a transsexual, you know, anything. And as controversial as it was, people were talking about it. Negative criticism, you know, few positive here and there. People were talking about it, but it was like, okay, you know, my name's in people's mouths again. You know, maybe this will get me appearances at this gig, but you know, it was the opposite effect. It was way too, you know, weird and risque at that time. And you know, eventually I had my match with Brandy, you know, a private parts off match. Only TXG TV, exactly. Basically, it was a match for, you know, you younger fans out there. Um, if she won, no, if I won, I got to trade my penis with her vagina. You know, if she won, she would have just kept her vagina, and I would have kept my penis, and she would have divorced me. You know, and that was the concept behind that, you know, controversial matchup. And you know, it was just something I was trying different, you know, with her. And it actually happened that I won, which meant that I got my private parts cut off and everything. I'm screaming and all that. And you know, it's one of the most controversial angles, but also one of the highlight moments of the TXG TV era on the West Side. You know, yeah, that was a real crazy time. I believe that was the time where Grandma, you know, I said Grandma, nigga, like we're not related, you know, but where Tony B's grandmother, you know, Miss Ruth, Ellen Ruth, where she was getting Alzheimer's and she was getting very sick. You know what I mean? So it would be kind of hard to do TXG TV, but we did it, and I think even the screens was, y'all niggas had to be low on the screams. Yeah, we're like because she was like right there in the living room, I believe, and we couldn't scream loud, something like that. You know, maybe that was that, or because I wanted, we were at Yena's house. I can't remember if we were at Yena's house. T. So yeah, that was that, you know, and it was just a gimmick that I was trying, and it lasted for far too long, way too long. I just wanted, because I was seeing how far I could stretch it. You know, how long can people talk about this? And you know, I thought that I was so unique with the whole, I know I'm washed up, I know you guys don't like me anymore, but I'm using that as the gimmick. Yeah, I'm washed up, ha ha ha, you know. And I thought that me portraying a washed up celebrity that's sure of him being washed up, I thought that would get over and that would be popular. But, when I look at it now, it's like, how can that work? The fact that that you're washed up, like, how do you promote that? You know what I mean? Look, it's this guy who knows he's washed up. He's popular again. Like, how are you popular? So, yeah, I'll be honest. Jamesy, controversial and something I was trying different. I mean, I got involved with Ad Monster, and all kind of different things. Yeah, man. But eventually, that moved to the wayside, and you was trying other different things. Where did your career go after that? I was making appearances on F&K. Very negative reviews, very negative. You know, one of the reasons I'm not even on F&K anymore is because of the negative reception of me. Like people were tired of me. I would go in there with my gimmick, and people were like, "Okay, we're tired of this," you know. And that's pretty much where that went. F&K, people were tired of me. That's what happened, and I started to come back because I was still, on the contract to do F&K. So I came back, and I had I had I became racist. Yeah, yeah. And this is very hard to talk about, you know, um, given the time, we're in and all these different things going on, it's really hard, because it was just something I was trying to do that was different. But at the time, it really was my feelings, you know what I mean? Just looking at, the African American community, these other guys, and, not really taking issue with the things that was going on with my race. Not really looking at where I was. I was just looking at everybody else and seeing them as a issue to society. And that's just where I was for that period. Um, I have grown up, and I do put that behind me, and I apologize, to anybody that I'm sure I'm offending now, even with some of those episodes that are still out there rotating. you know um I just wasn't thinking at times. I was thinking more so with anger, and anytime you use anger as the main thought, it's not going to make sense. And that's what I was doing with the whole racist thing. um yeah, man, people hit him an email. They was like, James, he need to talk about some of the shit with MZ. You know. Oh yeah. Well, MZ was the perfect picture of what I seen as problems with the African American community at that time. He was a rapper. He was sagging his pants. He was African American, and I just said, dude, I'm gonna just really make your life a living hell. And that's what I tried to do, every single day. And when Fred came in there, my best friend, shit, we tried to make MZ suffer, and I would just get into fights all the time. I was just like, damn, what is this motherfucker made of? I feel like you was feeling like you were at the top of the food chain. You know what I'm saying? You felt like niggas was animals. Don't laugh. I said don't laugh. I'm gonna kick your ass. Pretty much, yeah. That's how I felt. I looked at it as, how it's just when you look at, I looked at it as this too, and this will be very controversial. But I looked at them as animals so much because I looked at the evolution of life and the evolution of man. You know what I mean? Like, when you look at the evolution, men, like we were dumb.
You know what I mean? And we were small. Then we were cavemen, maybe we tried to wear pants, but maybe they did sag, and then eventually we wore pants how they were supposed to be worn and we became normal, like normal men, and then I looked at them, and I'm like, dude, they're monkeys, you know what I mean? I'm gonna whoop your ass on this podcast, Dak. Don't do that. Just understand, cause how blacks have evolved, but then when you look at the pants sagging and all these other different things, it's like that's devolving, you know what I mean? And that's just what I felt strongly, and I felt better than them, because like you can go and call a white person honky, crack, or whatever. They won't start a riot, you know what I mean? They won't break stuff, and that's just how I felt, like we were better, with Southern pride, white pride. Keep saying that shit on my podcast. Just listen to what I'm saying, and that was where I was. They could be good as cab drivers, taking us somewhere, just standing there, and ladies and gentlemen, I slept the shit out of James just now. Sorry, bruh. Sorry, man. I got in my feelings too much, you know what I mean? I'm shot. Look, you asked me the question, 90, and I gave you the answer. That's why I felt the way I felt, and that's why I kicked your leg out of your leg, and I slapped your eye out of your eye. Sack it. But that's just how I felt, that, I was above black people. And people were trying to prove it wrong, but like when I look at it as, because with the real world, I got so much, respect from, my community, and, like everybody was really feeling me, and, really behind the words I was saying. And when you have this group of people telling you you're a leader, this is what I wanted, this is what I lost. This time I know full well what I'm doing and why I'm popular. Like when it was 007, I didn't know why I was popular. I didn't get it, but this time I'm saying very racist views, and I see this growing into something. And I see this growing into something big, and I'm a part of these rallies and these speeches, and I'm the lead guy, and I'm getting famous, I'm getting money, I'm getting attention, I'm getting people that, like-minded individuals, and I know what's going on. So nobody couldn't tell me I was wrong, especially not a black person, or anybody for that matter, because I'm getting money, I'm getting fame, and this is awesome. This is it. This is the life. And like I said, when Obama won, when he won, like stuff started to falter. I started to see less people at the rallies, you know what I mean? And less people caring about me, and more people telling me, why Black Lives Matter and all these other different things. And I would try to continue to spew my racist views and the hatred and all this. But after a while, when you're the only one that shows up to a rally that you've posted, a month in advance, it's like, it's no point, and I had to drop the gimmick. It was getting me in way too much trouble. I was getting beat up, so much. And, even afterwards, like it took me some years, that's why I had to disappear from XTV 90, for a while, because the issues I would run into, day in and day out. I mean, when you look at it, 2007, I was on so much recordings, from like, I'll say 1997 when I first came all the way to '07, and, maybe early '08, I was always on XTV, all the time. But, once Obama got into office and all of that, and, all these different things going on, or once he won, I should say, like when this was happening, I was getting into so much shit.
So I would make small appearances here and there, until XTV was ready for me. Like I had a brief appearance at XTV's Trick or Treat. I was at that show, and I had appearances, maybe at a few other, XTV gatherings or whatever. But like, I wasn't just doing it by myself. I truly didn't come back until we did N64 week, with the 007, GoldenEye, where people kind of forgave me, and that's what that was. And, even afterwards, it was because I was just always getting beat up, Damn, worst ass whooping you ever got, Dag, I think this is interesting. Sips tea. I was riding in the van. I was going cross country. I don't know where I was going. I remember driving in a van, and there was these black guys. They just pulled me out the van, and it was one of those things. I was driving across, not cross country, but I was driving somewhere. Like I don't remember, like maybe it was from Florida to Atlanta or something. I think someone had a funeral, and as I'm driving in the end, I go to a rest stop and I rest, and they just come up, these three black guys, and they open the van, they throw me out, you know what I mean? And they start jumping me, man. They're beating me with rocks, beer bottles, you name it, and just kicking my ass. There's no offense except getting up just to get knocked back down from me, because it was just so many. And, they finally leave. And after they leave, I'm like, oh gosh, I'm thanking God, and because as I'm getting my ass beat, I was trying to tell them I'm not like that anymore. I apologize, but it was just so much fist being thrown where I'm like, oh, N-word, why'd you hit me? Oh, N-word, and it's like I'm trying to tell them I'm sorry. I'm like, I'm sorry, you N-word. You don't have to keep doing that, And after they were done, here comes some white guys. They start joining in on the fun. You know what I mean? They're like, did he just call you guys the N-word? You're a sorry son of a bitch. And I'm getting pounded, And like, what makes this the worst ass whooping, is not only the fact that I'm getting beat by my own people and, the people I, set out to offend. Also, my wife filed for divorce. Wow, Dag. You know what I mean? And, this was a period where someone, died, and I'm trying to go to a funeral. I'm at a rest stop to relax and get my mind together, but I can't because I'm getting jumped. And I just remember lying there, looking at the ceiling, you know what I mean? Looking at the stars, hoping someone would come for me, trying to think, who can I call to let them know I got jumped, I got beat and all this. That was nobody, you know what I mean? Alec, he was busy. He was doing his own thing. He probably was going through the same thing. You know what I mean? And there was really no one there, except myself and God and my injuries. And, yeah, that was literally the worst. And it was more after that. Like, that wasn't the only one. You asked the worst, that was the one. Looking at the Big Dipper like, Big Dipper, can you save me? Wow, James. Crazy, man. Now, one of the things I also want to talk about is your Vice City show. It seems you were brief on that, you know what I mean? But that has found a new light. And some people are saying it may come back. What's your opinion, your thoughts? Never say never. You know what I mean? Never say never. Like, especially in XTV. I mean, you have the real podcast you got going on. And you're garnering viewers, you're garnering everything. And, this was not to be expected. Your last show was supposed to be in 2012. It's true, Dag. Your last match and everything. But look at how you've come back, very big. And, keeping the culture of XTV West moving forward with so many podcasts under your belt. And I mean, if you can come back, if Alec can come back with his podcast, because me and him were both, considered racists, and you know how that goes. Since he's able to come back, and get a lot of positive feedback from JNW and all these different people, never say Vice City can't come back. I mean, I think everything's been said about it though. It's quite different from how your show was. It's more family oriented. It's just a lot more swearing and little racist undertones to it, or overtones I should say. But other than that, it was great. It's just that when one show was held up so big and people loved it that much, you know nobody's going to look at this new thing and be like, oh God, it's something new, because the other one did so much better. Could the same be said for Crack Rock Dag? I don't know, man. Let me got this fan on. Crack Rock was a bit of a weird show, I watched it here and there. Again, I wasn't really there like that in '08. I was in and out. But I don't know. I don't know.
And so where are you now with your family? I mean, are you and Little 007 still on speaking terms?
Last time we talked was this past December. We were brief. I called his phone. It's like, what's up, man? What's up? And, it's just, he didn't say, what's up, Dad? He's like, what's up, man? And we just talked a bit, about whatever was going on here and there. And we pretty much squashed the beef. You know what I mean? From, what I did way back in '98 and, what I've done to his life, so on and so forth. And, there is no issues no more, with that. And I'm happy to say that's one relationship that's, okay. Even though we're not on the speaking terms every day, we still were able to, put out there how I made him feel and how he made him feel, which is another good thing, about these podcasts is you're able to really see what people's thoughts was. Bobby didn't realize that he had heat with 80s guy and the kids and all these different people. He didn't realize it until those guys were able to talk about it on the podcast. I didn't realize I did all that to Little 007 growing up. I didn't know that, my words were that powerful. I don't even think Dixie knew her words against Tia Ray was powerful and, it struck a chord. So, that's why these podcasts are very good. Because I thank this podcast for letting me know that, you were a dick. And, I apologize for my behavior because there was no thought I could go with, I'm like, oh, well, I could say this and, it's nothing I can do. Mary May on the Joe Show podcast said that, she's kind of in a never forgive him state where it's just like she heard me say, don't talk to her. She's an N-word and calling her a Haitian N-word. Even she said that she can't talk to me. And I remember saying that, and it was just, when I said it, it was just like, just throw this word out there. It wasn't even a real thought, but even your smallest thoughts and your smallest comments has a way with affecting other people in positive or negative ways. And, that small comment, as brief as it was to me and as meaningless as it was to me, it really hurt her, and as a result, I'm not able to go to the Joe Show and all these other different things. So, that's why I truly preach, you got to be careful at what you say, to other people, because you never know how it will affect them. I don't even say damn anymore. I don't even say that, because one time when I was outside, I was like, damn it. I hit my toe against my car, or my leg against my car. And I said, damn it. And his mother says, don't you see the children around? And, truthfully, I could have just been like, yeah, bitch, I'm pretty sure you say worse. But I looked at the eyes of those kids and, I can't say that. You know what I mean? Like, that's their mother, and she's trying to raise them, I guess, not to say damn, or whatever she's trying to do. And it's just, you got to be respectful and courteous and understand others' feelings, and that's just what it was. And that's what it is now. I understand how people feel and why they are the way they are. You can't keep questioning things that you don't understand. You can't get mad at it. Things exist because they exist, and you'll lose your mind trying to figure out why people act or feel this way. They're just them. And if you don't like them, feel free to not like them and move on to who you like. That's just how the world is. Yeah, Doug. I got a homie at Walmart. You know what I'm saying? It seems like a whole bunch of motherfuckers want to say a whole bunch of different opinions and question him on why he behaves the way he behaves. You know what I mean? But if you don't like a nigga, you can feel free not to like him. You know what I'm saying? Like you don't have to just cause he exists. Like he exists, I gotta like him. Damn. Nah, nigga, you ain't obligated to liking a nigga you don't. You know what I'm saying? So don't tell him to look a certain way, act a certain way, be a certain way, because he gonna always be him. Even if he do act the way you telling him to act, he just gonna be that person, how he acts as that person, but he's still the person he is. So you still don't like him as the person he acting like for you. Dumb nigga. Anyway, though, sorry, James, I had to get that out. It's understanding. Want some tea, Dak? More tea. Yeah, just a little. You don't want to wet my whistle. Now, person I want to ask you about is a friend from the real world that you had, Fred, man, Oh, Fred. I think he had a heart attack. He's still alive. He just he doesn't really take care of himself. This is a guy that I feel like life has been, very mean on. Sometimes life just has these people that it just shits on. And that's who that is. Somehow he had a wife. Damn, that's fucked up. He had a wife. He had a woman that liked him. His whole talking, he'll just be like, hey, slut, hey, bitch. That's just how he is, but he met a wife. Of course, he's divorced like 4 or 5 times, I want to say, and I think that the stress level of, the women he dealt with and getting up there in age and all, he didn't take care of himself. So he's stressing about the divorce and, going to court and all of this other different things that didn't have to be there. And, he's having these health issues from past substance abuse and, current substance abuse and stress as well. So, he's just really going through it. We stopped talking, like once he tried to have sex with my wife. You know what I mean? It's just, I'm sure you got friends, 90. Friends that are just, they're just nasty. You know what I mean? It's just this big, greasy, hairy, nasty guy. And, when I learned that this guy is trying to push up on my wife, and he's just nasty. He smells of alcohol, beer, and uncleansed ass. I'm going to get angry, and I'm going to smack him around a little bit, and then take a great shower afterwards. And so, after that wrapped, we were never friends again. I think the last I heard from him, I probably called him in the hospital, and he's like, fuck you on. And I'm like, Fred, it's me. How have you been? He's like, good. Let me sleep. I hung up the phone, Crazy, Dad. I mean, do you think y'all ever could be friends? He just has to get his act together, I understand, he's been through those things in his life, but he needs to give it to the Lord at the end of the day. Like I did, I gave it to the Lord. Like I said, when I was beat up by all those different guys, and I'm looking at the stars and all of this, it got to a point where I had to say, Jesus, take me, take the wheel, Because when you're driving that bus and you're seeing success, you think it's all you. You think this is you making these things happen. But it isn't. It's the Lord. And you got to back up and you got to say, here, take the wheel, show me. Because you can't drive this bus. You got to let the Lord drive this bus and go and stop at the locations He wants you to stop off. You know what I mean? And enjoy yourself. Be happy. But don't continue to, just do things just because they're there. Because when you just do things just because, you end up situations that you could have avoided. And, I had to get to that point. I had to just, back off and, let Him do everything. When I did N64 week and I got that reception, that's nothing but miraculous. This guy that disrespected the African American community and other different races, they forgave me. You know what I mean? And they were like, James, you're back. We accept you. And to be accepted, I didn't do that on my own. It was the Lord. Well, James, I want to thank you for this, man. Don't thank me. Thank the Lord. Yeah, this was a very great podcast. Good shit, man. Good shit, man. Thank the Lord. Peace.